Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It is April 24th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I'm going to turn my ringer off on my phone real quick so we don't get 100 interruptions. That's the way it usually goes. But anyway, range day today. You can see the overnight highs and the overnight lows, and when you're halfway through the trading morning, you're still trading inside that, and prices are swinging back and forth above and below the EMA. Generally, that's what you're going to see as a range type day. We did have some pretty good move trends. We had a good trend down, good trend up, and another good trend down, and then another trend back up. So the trends are big enough where there's a little bit of room there to to find an entry, and it was pretty consistent off the top until late in the afternoon, and but it wasn't that consistent off the lows, so it made it a little bit more difficult. You really had to wait on kind of a reversal pattern off the lows to really find a trade, because it just wasn't consistent turning spots off the lows. But there were quite a few trades early on this downtrend, so you would have had a good opportunity to make some money today, really before 10 o'clock. Most of your trades were before 10 o'clock. And then we only had one or two in the afternoon here, so you just kind of got kind of slow in the afternoon. And there's one or two you might argue far up here. They're not real clear. I think it's risky entering up here. You just don't really get a good short entry till here. So anyway, let me back out a little more, and we'll talk about the trades, and it won't take long today, and we'll wrap the day up. We'll be almost through the week. Tomorrow will be Thursday, and wrap up our week. So quick week coming back. When you have long holiday weekend, it tends to be that way. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. 7 o'clock came right in this little push back up to test these highs right here. There's a nice little double test, and you could actually argue that is a failed second entry long. I didn't mark that one. That's a possibility. I'll go ahead and mark it green, and you could really argue for that to almost be red because it's a double test, and it is a failed second entry long, so the signal bar is not as important. So that's a possibility, but if you just waited on a lower high, you had a better entry here, and it actually went higher and turned and went out the other side. I don't think I would have waited for that bar to complete and gone short down here. You'd have been safe, but it's just such a huge bar. It's just kind of risky. I mean, that bar has got, you can see the range is, that's basically 2 point, that's a 2 point, so that's right at, it looks a whole lot bigger than that, but I guess maybe it's not. It says it's 8 ticks, but it really looks a lot bigger than that. I guess I backed out a little bit, so that's still a big bar. I don't think I'd have gone short at that double bottom. I'd have went short 1 tick below this bar when it turned back down. And if I did go short here, I'd let it break lower, and I'd drop a limit order back up here, maybe a tick or so in where you might have entered on this bar, and you see it would have backed up and filled you and then turned down. But anyway, notice you got a double top, so a new high, first entry, and so you get a second entry, a third touch of the trend line. Failed second entry long. That's a good place right off that short-term trend line. I like going short there. Another nice move down. And then, of course, it bounces. And it comes back. And I would have drawn my trend line right here now. And then you try to go higher once. And you get a lower high. There's a second entry short right there. Notice the new low. First entry. And then second entry. And it's all that's confirming that trend line. And then you actually get a failed second entry long right here. This is a new high. It's higher than this one and this one. So you're moving down. First entry, second entry, it fails. I like going short there too. Another nice move down. You got plenty of room to get out before this low. So then it bounces. This is the overnight lows right here at these lows here. So this one is really tempting. but it's risky. It's one of those you might mark green. There's a high or low right here, but you don't really get enough room to get out before the EMA. And this trend line's still in place. So I don't think you want to go long yet. You want to see more of a reversal pattern, a better reversal pattern. You want to see things get up here. And then notice what happens. You move up here. You try to go short once. You try to go short twice. And so you get a double test when it breaks above here. You really have a double test here, but you don't want to go long right into that high. Plus, notice what happens. You pull back first entry, and then you pull back, and you get that little tick lower as well. That's a second entry long. I like going long there. It confirms that trend line. You can call that a double test. A nice bullish bar, and off it goes. That would have been another good entry. And so you made a new low here as well. And so you're moving up first entry, second entry. You get another bounce on a failed second entry short with a nice bullish bar right off the trend line and EMA. And you got to figure then we're going to fill that gap. That's the overnight gap between here and here. Notice we opened here, and so that's where we're probably headed near term. That would have been a good target. I talked about that early this morning in the around 9:30 or so on the mid-morning chart that I post. I talked about we're probably going to fill that, and that'd be a good target. And of course, it goes straight to it before we get a break. And you actually get a second entry long right here, but when those made those two matching highs, you could have entered here. I think it's a little bit risky, but you could have entered right there. This was a line I was playing with earlier, and I forgot to erase it. I just forget that one. But you pull back first entry, pull back, and it was a second entry long. But I would wait and counting off the high, I'd look for a second entry. It didn't break lower here, but you're pulling back. That's basically a higher low right there. And so I like going another bullish bar. So I like waiting till there. You could, like I said, you could argue for that one. And you figure we're going to try to make a retest of the high. We may go all the way up here to test the overnight highs. And that's exactly where we go. And then you're moving down first entry, and then you get a little second entry long right there. I don't think you want to risk that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars. That's a perfect doji. That's congestion. You want to stay out of that. That's basically a little trading range. And then of course you drop down and fail, and so you might consider that, but you got this trend working lower, and so I wouldn't fool with that. I'd just sit tight. It's tempting to go short right here because it's right back at the trend line. Notice how it gaps over it right there, telling you it's probably in the right place. Fairly bearish bar, but it's just a first entry short counting off the lows. So I think you got to wait. Unfortunately, you miss a nice little move here. You get a lower high here, but we've already had one leg correction, 2 legs down. And even though it would have worked, we're overdue for a little bounce, and you see what happens. It pushes a little lower and then it bounces. So wait till it comes back, and it does come back here, and it breaks higher and then turns and goes out the other side right there. And now you got a failed second entry long. Notice that swing high, it's higher than that one. So you got a new count, first entry and then second entry. And as soon as it breaks lower right here, it's a failed second entry long. Technically, I don't know if that's a failure, but it's close enough, and it is off a key entry point. It's the same thing. There's a lower high right here. I would have liked it better if it broke higher, but that's another possibility that you could mark green. Again, I would have liked to have seen it break higher, but it didn't. So you could consider it. And of course we drop down, and I'd be looking at this 2 different ways. I'd measure this leg first and look for a possible measured leg, and you can see we came real close right there. But I'd also measure this whole thing right here, and you can see we basically had a perfect measured move down. So that's 2 legs down. Now you probably get a reversal. Again, this is where the lows were, and notice how we bounced there again, And so you get a little failed drop lower, and that's a relatively bullish bar that actually breaks lower and turns and goes up, and you're a long way away from the EMA, and you know it's probably going to be a failed break lower. Generally, you're better off to wait on the higher low, but sometimes you'll catch major important lows when you do this, and this was one of them. And of course, it runs up, and you get a first entry, and then you get you actually get a failed second entry short right there. And a nice bullish bar. It is a little bit of congestion. It drops out of too. Another reason. So I like going long right there. It does pull back, but it gets back inside this little. There's actually a little congestion range area right there. You can see it. And we drop lower, but you got to go long right into that. Although we did break out, so it's a possibility. If you hadn't got another equal high right here inside bar, I'd say maybe. And it does tend to confirm that trend line. Notice you start right here, your first touch, and then your second touch. I'm just not crazy about that resistance across there. It does take off, and especially being that close to 2 o'clock, and it gets you in the 2 o'clock hour. So, and this is a new swing low. So first entry, second entry, it's a trap too. So that's another reason. You could at least argue for that to be green, but I'd probably skip it. So most of your trading was early today again, and then it kind of got a little slow this afternoon. So we've kind of had the opposite lately, where it's been slow in the morning and really nice trades in the afternoon. And there was actually some good movement after 2 o'clock, but you're better off just stay out of that. Usually it's just trouble trying to trade that. You get stuck in a trade and you end up with a loss trying to do that in the afternoon. But anyway, good trading day, especially early, which is what I like. I like to trade early and be done early, and you had a good opportunity for that today. And I tend to like these range days. The best trades are usually going to be your shorts off the highs and your longs off the lows. Unfortunately, you didn't get a lot of that today. You really just had to kind of play the trends within. And you could see these are fairly straightforward trends. Nothing too out of the ordinary here. So relatively straightforward. Notice this one working up, and you finally get a break, new high, and then it's turning down. You get a break. I don't have this one drawn. Just showing them to you. You can see that one. You get a break here, and notice you get a second entry short, makes a new low, and now we're headed higher. Same thing here. We're working here. You get a break, and then you got your break. What was odd about this one? You got your break really early, and then you still got two big heavy legs down, and it reversed, and then now you're working up. Again, you break, your new high, it's working down. Same thing here, you're coming down. You didn't really get a break and a reversal here. I do believe, I just can't grab the right one. I believe that this was a little tighter, and you got an overshoot twice here, and then it reversed. But on range days, sometimes you don't get a break and a reversal. But most all your trends today, and notice this one working up, you get a close outside, new high. Working down, you get a close outside, new low. Working outside, close outside, new high. Running down, close outside, new low. Working up. Same thing here, you're working up, close outside, and it runs up to a new high. Actually, I think it makes a double top there. It doesn't quite make a new high, but that's close enough. So it was fairly straightforward. So other than the fact that it's a range, I tend to like these days, especially when you've got a consistent highs and consistent lows, and you just wait for a setup at the highs to go short or a setup at the lows to go long. And I tend to like those trades. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow and wrap up our week, but I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. And we'll see you next time.